Hey, isn't it funny that the intros, the first part of a song, usually are made last? Well, actually it makes sense because an intro has to do with everything that happens in the rest of the song. Now, because of that, for many people, making an intro can be really hard. So today I bring you a proven method of making intros that's really easy. Now, it has different levels and we're going to go from the most basic one to the more complex, but at the end of this video, making an intro for you is going to be a breeze. You see, an intro is like a movie trailer, but for your song. It sets the mood, it makes the listener curious or excited, and it makes them want more. Okay, but how the hell do you make an intro? Well, there are plenty of ways, but the one that I'm going to show you today is by far the easiest one, at least in my experience. Following the idea of a movie trailer, what a trailer does is to take elements of the movie and present them to you in a particular way. An intro for a song is more emotional, more visceral, but the same principle applies. Now, the interesting part is that in a movie you get scenes, but in a song you can actually dissect the different elements that compose the arrangement. Then you can use them to create something different. No, it sounds too complex, so let's go for an example. Take, for instance, Billie Jean by Michael Jackson. It starts with the drums, then it has the bass, then the chords on a synth, and finally Michael starts singing. The drums, the bass, and the chords are the same later in the song, but the difference is that they are using them individually to set the mood and the rhythm. In a way, this intro is slowly building the complete song. And that's basically the movie trailer method, to take elements of the song and use them individually to then make something that will, well, make sense later. So the mood is set for the listener, and the listener is curious to know where is this going. So with a song, for instance, this loop, we can take the same principle, use the drums, then the drums with the bass, then the drums, the bass, and the chords, and finally the whole thing. Now, there's a simpler way to do this, and it's the most common one. For instance, in the song Redbone by Childish Gambino. The idea is to take a cohesive part of the song, and in this case, you take away the vocals. This is because the vocals, in this case, are the most important part of the song. But you can do the same with instrumental tracks by, for instance, taking away the melody, or maybe taking away elements that makes the loop feel bigger. Now, these are pretty simple and effective, but you know that I like to complicate my life. So let's go to the advanced method of the movie trailer method. Again, the principle is the same. We take elements that are part of the song, but now we will reuse them in different ways, like we will repurpose a melody or we will resample some sounds. For that, let me show you the final result, my little single, Tights. If you want to listen to the whole song, the links are going to be in the description. What you just heard was the main part of the song, and the intro sounds like this. can hear the main melody combined with different elements, and in a way I'm taking the most important parts of the song to create something that leads into that. Now, for instance, I said that I would reuse the melody. What I meant was to use the melody on a different instrument, in this case a piano. I wanted to make a dramatic intro, and in electronic music, if you want drama, using a piano is always welcomed. So even if I'm not using the exact same sound, I'm using the same structure, with the same chords that I'm playing later. This works because when the main melody comes, of course the intro feels familiar, but in the context of something more structured, it feels better, it makes sense. But of course, that's not the only thing that you can listen. I actually took the main synthesizer melody, which is a sequence I programmed in Pigment. I bounced it and then I resampled it with a granular effect. Granular effects are perfect for breaking apart small elements of a sound and to create this familiarity feeling of something that will make sense later. So what I did was to actually use the main melody and the resampled granular thingy and fade in and out from each other, giving me this push and pull effect. I even resampled the piano melody to put it underneath it, just to add up on this broken ethereal, building something bigger kind of effect. And as the melody and the chords on the piano are the same but with different instruments later, all of the sounds start dancing together. Now, of course, on their own, all of these sounds were very nice. They were reminiscent of something that will come later, but it was feeling a little bit empty, and then I decided to play around with Botanica. It's optional to play around with these many sound effects as I did, but the way I arranged them was especially good for this push and pull effect I just mentioned. Now, finally, on the resample and, well, resynthesis part of sound design, I used some of these sounds and processed them with spectral effects, so I could get these other sound effects that dance around your ears. Of course, it all depends on your style of music and whatever else, but the idea of taking small elements of a song, even elements from just one track, and then use them in the intro in a way that's different is very effective to create this interesting kind of feeling. This push and pull, this expectation of something bigger, and whatever else. So I hope this video at least helps you a little bit on how to understand intros better. So now the invitation is that you go and experiment yourself what you want to do with your own music. Of course, if you learned something today, give a like to the video. That's the only thing that I want. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you next time, and bye bye.